Hello guys, it is me again, it's HorrorFan34, and welcome back to another video. Sorry about that. Excuse me. You might be wondering why it's been a while again since I did a video. Well, you know, this month has been very, very rough. For me being sick, because if you remember, not too long ago, when I think it was around the time when I got done doing the 25 Days of Christmas challenge, like all those reviews that I was doing for the challenge. The last two reviews, I was really, really sick. Had a really bad throat and chills and weak muscles and all that other mumbo jumbo. So, so then what ended up happening is that after I did my last video, which I think was the series of videos I was going to be doing, like showing like collections and things like that, it was on the Bruce Willis collection. Then after I did that, then the next day after that, I got really stuffy, really bad coughing and really bad stuffy nose and things like that. It was just a pain, and I also my right ear felt like I went deaf in my right ear, but it was because it was all the mucus that was building up, and it kind of clogged up my sinuses, and it was just a big mess. Still getting a little bit over that. My ear feels better than it did before. This is just the last bit of the cough and things like that. So it's been a pretty rough month. And on top of that too, I just don't understand, like, I battled like 2 colds in like a span of 2 weeks. I just really don't understand that. Maybe like even a month. Like, I don't even know how that's even possible. But whatever. Enough with me. Enough about that. Let's get on to the actual video. I decided to do another series review, and I figured since I did the Bruce Willis collection, you know what? I've been meaning to talk about these films, and why not review the Die Hard films? Yes, from the first one all the way up until the last one. So these next series of videos are going to be all on the Die Hard films. So, of course, to begin the first review of the Die Hard franchise, you got to start with the one that started it all. Die Hard. You got to start with the first one. Now, of course, the first Die Hard was released in 1988, directed by John McTiernan. Now, John McTiernan as a director, I really do enjoy. I really wish he would come back and do more movies, but I know he's had a little bit of some problems. But you know, him as a director, really enjoyed Predator with Arnold. Really enjoyed this film. He would later come back and direct Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance. He also directed The Hunt for Red October with Sean Connery. Also directed Last Action Hero, which is another really good movie in my opinion. So John McTiernan, you know, he's directed two films apiece for 2 very good action stars. You know, he did Arnold for Predator and Last Action Hero, and Bruce Willis for Die Hard and Die Hard with a Vengeance. I think all 4 are really, really good movies. Really, really solid films. So, going into the first Die Hard, I know there was a thing about Die Hard during the pre-production, how it was going to be originally, I think it was going to be a sequel to Commando, and they were going to have Arnold be in it. But then Arnold didn't do that, so they decided to make it their own standalone movie, and then they got this one. They got Die Hard. And I know there was a lot of people they went to for John McClane. They went to, I think, like Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone. I think Harrison Ford they even went to. I think Burt Reynolds was approached to do it as well. And Bruce Willis... Sorry. Bruce Willis was one of the last choices they went to when history was made with John McClane, played by Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis was born to play John McClane. And basically, in the first Die Hard, you know, it's about John McClane is a cop who comes back to L.A. for the Christmas holiday season to see his wife, Holly, played by Bonnie Bedelia, who you remember from Salem's Lot, among others. And basically, she works at this plaza, this corporation. I think it's a Japanese plaza corporation, and these people come in and they take over the building, and they're headed by Hans Gruber, played by the late great Alan Rickman. And basically, John McClane has to stop these guys and save his wife in this building, and it's him by himself. And that's basically what the idea of the first Die Hard's about. Now, the first Die Hard has a lot going for it. I think it's one of the best action films of all time. It's one of my favorites. It's easily one of my favorite films of all time. I love the first Die Hard. You know, Bruce Willis embodies John McClane so much. He has a really fun personality, and he's a really likable hero. And on top of that, too, John McClane's character did all this by himself, and he, like, no shoes on, and his feet getting cut up on the glass, and things like that. You know, there's a lot of really good moments, you know, when he swings down on that, like, towel-like thing, and he swings and he breaks through a window, things like that. And, of course, you know, the whole final showdown between him and Hans Gruber. And getting on to Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber, Alan Rickman is an actor who I really do miss a lot. Alan Rickman, may he rest in peace, you know, really enjoyed him in this film, you know, Galaxy Quest. Of course, people know him from the Harry Potter films, but I mainly know him from Die Hard. And I also really enjoyed him in Dogma, that Kevin Smith directed. But Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber is fantastic. He has a really good person. He has like a really, like, Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber has like a really big personality to him. He has a lot of fun with his role. And on top of that, too, you have some of Alan Rickman's, you know, Hans Gruber's subordinates. You have Alexander Godunov, who's no longer with us anymore. You might see him in, like, films like Witness with Harrison Ford. And I think he was in The Money Pit with Tom Hanks as well. So you've seen Alexander Godunov in a couple films. Some of his other subordinates, Al Leong is one of his subordinates. Genghis Khan himself from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and he's been in a lot of other stuff. And some of the other cast members in the film do a great job. I mean, you have Reginald VelJohnson as the sergeant, you know, Carl Winslow himself from Family Matters. And then some of the members of the police department, you have William Atherton, however you say his last name, Walter Peck from the original Ghostbusters. Excuse me. And also the deputy chief of police, you have Paul Gleason, the principal himself from The Breakfast Club. He's in here as well. So it's a really, really recognizable cast. And this film just has a lot of stuff going for it. You know, John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, is a fantastic character. And really solidified Bruce Willis into being an action star, because then he would have a lot of other films like Last Boy Scout, among others, later in his career. Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber is fantastic. Alan Rickman plays Hans Gruber so well. Easily one of the best movie villains of all time. I think Hans Gruber is a great villain, and Alan Rickman played him very, very well. And the other cast members do a fine job. You know, Reginald VelJohnson, Bonnie Bedelia, all the other cast members do a fine job as well. A lot of really fun action sequences, and I think John McClane's character has a lot of, like I said, has a lot of personality, a really big personality to him. He has his wits, you know. Sorry, excuse me about the coughing, but I think John McClane, you know, is a great character. It's easily Bruce Willis's most recognized character in his filmography. Like, throughout Bruce Willis's career, they always think of him as John McClane from Die Hard. And rightfully so, because John McClane's a great character. And, you know, we got one of the best action films of all time in Die Hard. It has a really great claustrophobic feel to it, too, because it's all set inside the building, and it's one guy by himself doing all this, which I thought was awesome. And, you know, then, of course, spoiler alert, you know, the whole final showdown with him and Hans Gruber, where he has 2 bullets left. You know, you have the whole, catchphrase, you know, yippee-ki-yay, you know. This just was one of the most memorable quotes ever. You know, yippee-ki-yay. Just love that so much. Love that catchphrase. And like I said, getting onto the Hans Gruber final showdown, he has 2 bullets left, and there's 2 guys left, and he gets one guy, and then he saves the other bullet for Hans Gruber, and you have that whole line, you know, happy trails, Hans, and then Hans and Bonnie Bedelia, Holly is I think they're handcuffed on each other, and they're about to fall out the window, and then Bruce Willis manages to free his wife from the grasp of what was connecting her and Hans Gruber. And then you have that really great slow-mo shot where Hans Gruber just falls to his death. He has and that look on his face, and he falls down, he falls to his death, and Bruce Willis saves the day, I mean, granted, I know I spoiled the ending, but who hasn't seen Die Hard? It's a fantastic action film, very wonderful, really wonderful action scenes in the movie, really likable character in John McClane, a fantastic cast, Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman, Reginald Phil Johnson, just a lot of people. Really great, memorable lines from the movie as well. I think it's directed very well by John McTiernan. I think it's directed very well by him. I mean, what more can be said about the first Die Hard that hasn't been said before? It's a fantastic film, a great action movie, and easily one of my personal favorite action films of all time. It'll easily be in probably my top 10. It'll most likely be in my top 10, but easily at least in the top 20, it'll be in my top favorites of action films. It's up there with The Rock and Con Air and things like that. But love the first Die Hard. So that is pretty much it for my review for the first Die Hard. And thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Alright guys, take care. And stay tuned for the next review, which I'll be reviewing Die Hard 2. So you stay tuned for that, and you guys take care.